Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 13.5, Developer Beta 4, and Public Beta 3 have been out for a few days. I've been using it primarily on my iPhone 11 Pro Max, as well as my iPhone XR that I have here, and it's been pretty good for me, but I want to talk about how it's been for me, how it's been for you, based off the YouTube community poll, and then we'll take a look at some of the comments. And the first thing I wanted to mention is this previous week there was an update for AirPods that fixed things like connectivity, although people have not said specifically what has been fixed. So if we open it up here, connectivity seems to be working well. It connects very quickly. And while it may take a second to pop up there, in general, it's been working great for me. And so it's good that they updated the firmware. And if you're trying to update that firmware, all you want to do is plug in your AirPods and then plug in your iPhone, or just set your iPhone next to it and then hope it updates. Unfortunately, there is no way to force it manually to update. Now, as far as issues with this, I've actually had no issues as far as lockups, slowdowns, anything like that. Everything's been nice and smooth, very steady, no problems with anything loading. Everything's been really great. Everything from RAM management to overall usability have been just great in general. And the first day, though, I had a bunch of apps crashing, and everything from Pinterest crashing to random apps. And it turns out that this issue was not with iOS, but this issue was rather with Facebook. And Facebook had some developer hooks where you could actually sign in to maybe Pinterest with Facebook. Anything that used those particular developer SDKs or APIs were actually crashing the app when it tried to open. So you would try and open any app. It could be anything that attached to Facebook, and it would just crash right away. They fixed that pretty quickly, but at first I thought it was related to iOS, but it turns out it isn't, which is good. The only other thing you may have noticed is I'm actually using Mail, and Mail is something that I really like, the actual stock Mail app, but I've been having issues with it. But so far it seems to be good. So you'll see it says I have 3 email. If I go into it, now I have 4. Sometimes it checks right away, sometimes it doesn't. And so in general, it's been working pretty well. If I have unread there, it's showing I have unread, and now it's showing 4. So it took a moment to update. There's something with the updating on this, and it's hard to say what exactly is going on, but they will probably fix this, hopefully with iOS 14. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Now, as far as the battery life on this particular beta, let's take a look at it. And my battery health on this device is 98%, and I've shared that with you that updates do not affect battery health. It just simply rechecks and is monitoring the physical battery inside the iPhone. So let's take a look at how my battery's been over the past few days. So yesterday, for example, I had 2 hours and 56 minutes of screen on time, 5 hours and 12 minutes of screen off time playing music or something like that, and used about 40% of the battery. If we take a look at the previous days, I've only been using it, well, a couple days ago I was using it 4 hours, but in general, based off of this, 2 hours and I used 25%, that would get me about 8 hours of screen on time with 8 hours of screen off time as well. So usually 10 to 12 hours of screen on time is good, and most of you are saying that battery is better as well. So the majority of people that updated to this beta are saying it's great. Performance-wise, I've had no issues. That includes all of the older phones. So when I'm talking about things that people have had issues with, that includes everything from iPhone 7 and 6S, things like that. But you'll see performance on my XR is pretty good. Scrolling is nice and fast. If I go back to music and load it, you'll see it loads and scrolls nice and fast. And everything from weather to other apps that haven't been opened in a long time seem to load without a problem. So everything seems to be running nice and smoothly on this particular update. Now, as far as issues you've been saying that you've been having, you've actually said that battery is better, but you're also having lagging and screen freezes a lot more in this beta. Quite a few of you mentioned this. Now, just for reference, here are all the different issues that you've been having based off the YouTube community poll. So quite a few of you mentioned everything from Mail to freezing. The most of you mentioned battery, but that's usually good and bad. So that's just the times it was mentioned. But 3 of you mentioned heat, but said that heat is no longer an issue and the phone is not getting warm. Maybe it did the first day when it was doing some background things and then it went away. So in general, it seems to be working really well for most people. So no phones are getting warm. And then also people are still saying sometimes Mail is having to manually fetch mail, even though it's saying you may have 6 email or 4 email like I have on my 11 Pro Max. So it just depends on the situation. Some people are having different situations with Mail and different applications. So it's been pretty good. Now, here are all the different devices that people listed in the YouTube community poll that you're using, and you'll see that it varies greatly. Sometimes people are not using any devices. So if you let me know in the poll, it's very helpful so I can get the information and share with you how it's been based off those devices. But it seems to be pretty consistent across the board. Now let's take a look at the YouTube community poll. Now, at the time of this video, you'll see it says 6.7K votes, or 6,700 votes or so. So this is pretty good in the amount of time. It's about 24 hours since I put out that poll, maybe a little bit longer. And you can see here, 14% of you said it's great. 2% said it was terrible. 5% said it okay, but some bugs. This is pretty consistent. About 7% of you that are running the beta are having issues. So there's not a ton of you using the beta, but 7% of you are either having issues or finding that it's not great. 62% of you are still on public versions of iOS 13.4.1 or older, and 18% of you are using Android. This number keeps going up, whether or not it's people that actually are switching. I do see some people in the comments switching to iPhone, so it's hard to say, but that just allows you all to participate, so I appreciate everyone that voted and commented below. Now let's take a look at some of the YouTube community poll posts here, or comments, and the first one says iPhone 11 Pro Max 256 Gold running iOS 13.5 newest beta, and it's running perfect. Nothing wrong here on my end. iOS 13.5 was okay on my iPhone SE. After the update, I had issues where the home screen would stutter, but then once it was installed longer, I didn't have issues with that. Then I also had problems with mail where I would get email, and then when I open it, there would be a 1 indicator on the mail icon, and finally I got it to go away. So basically it was a persistent mail icon. iPhone 7 rear camera full blackout coming. Please give any suggestion. If you're on the beta, report it to Apple through the feedback app, and also reboot. That usually will help those issues. The battery life has significantly improved, and there is no overheating issues when I was using data, but I have crashing issues. For example, if I'm replying messages by force touch, it will crash and automatically bring me to the lock screen. iPhone XR here. iPhone 11 Pro Max 13.5 developer beta 4, some games crashing, and battery life is decent, definitely better than developer beta 3. I've been using iPhone XR with the beta, and the battery life has been absolutely terrible. The performance has been great, and there haven't been any issues with that. It's just the battery. Pretty good on my iPhone 8, still having troubles with Touch ID not being recognized all the time. Seems to be an issue on the last 2 betas. Other than that, all good. I see this a lot, and it says the update still didn't come to the iPhone 7, and that stinks because everyone with an iPhone 7 or 8 always is late with updates. The updates come out at the exact same time for every single iPhone. It doesn't matter which one you have, and it's not late, it's a beta or a public beta. So unless you're a developer or a public beta tester, you won't have it until the public version releases. Mostly great, Pro Max and 2018 iPad Pro. Average screen on time is 8 hours, no bugs or crashes on the phone, occasional graphical mouse cursor glitches on the iPad though. 11 Pro Max, no issues, smooth, fast, and nimble. Great on my iPhone 11. Maybe screen on time has been lower since the last 2 days. Hopefully after the background processing, it will be good, as it's still decent, thanks. Working fine on my iPhone XS Max. The AirPods Pro firmware upgrade really fixed the connectivity issues I had. HomeKit is also much better now. Overall, very good updates. Beta seems to be really good for me on my 11 Pro Max. I'm on public beta 3 coming from iOS 13.4.1. Battery life also seems better for me as well on 13.5 public beta 3. Love your videos, and thank you. Continuing issues with AirPlay to HomePods, though to be fair, the AirPlay implementation could be out of sync on the HomePods, which are not beta. I actually haven't tried playing anything AirPlay other than music, so it's really hard to say that it's out of sync, but if it was video, that's possible, since that's kind of complicated to get that to sync, so there definitely could be issues until the public beta is released, or the public version is released, rather. So far, all the bugs and crashes on the previous beta has been solved. Power consumption also improved. 10R user. XS Max, battery life is good. Random freezes every once in a while. Other than that, no complaints. Using this beta on an iPhone 8, and it's been great so far. I have the public beta installed on my XR and has been running smooth. Haven't noticed any major bugs or app crashes for me. Also, I love your content. Very informative. Thank you. iPhone XS Max here, the beta upgrades were great, but not as good on my battery life. It's been pretty good for the most part. The only bug I had was my phone completely locked up and froze when it was in sleep mode. It froze for about 15 seconds. After the 15 seconds, the screen came back on and everything was working like normal. I did force reset after the sent feedback to Apple. It tells you how buggy iOS 13 has been. Other than that, Battery and performance are great, iPhone 11 Pro Max. Everything is smooth and running better now, but I still have an issue with Mail automatically fetching when I have it set to manual. If you have it set to manual, it won't automatically fetch. You have to change it to push or to have it fetch every 15 minutes or so, or it won't automatically do it. You actually have to have it set, or you'll actually have to go into the Mail and refresh every time. That's how manual works. But other than that, Mail's been working good for me. Now that's it for iOS 13.5, Beta 4, and Public Beta 3. Now, those of you wondering when it's going to come out to the public, I'm thinking this week or the following week. Many people have said mid-May that seem to know, and so it could be this coming week, maybe on the 13th or the 20th. It's really hard to say for sure because Apple doesn't tell anyone except for those people internally, so hopefully everything's good with this. Now, if you're having issues with it, make sure to submit feedback in the Feedback app. That's how Apple does that. They put all that information together based off what's most important and work their way down from most important to least important. So hopefully that gets fixed, whatever issue you're having. Now on June 22nd, we'll see the Worldwide Developer Conference, or WWDC 2020, and that's where we'll see iOS 14 for the first time, and you can expect a beta the first time that day. And so beta 1 should be out to developers. Usually it takes a few weeks for public beta testers to get it, but Apple could change that up. They are broadcasting it from home, and most people should be able to watch it on any Apple device without a problem. So you should be able to watch it there. And if they keep up with what they've been doing, you'll be able to see it on YouTube as well. But let me know if you've found anything else in this particular update in the comments below. And if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description as I always do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.